Hi, welcome to AI in Action. My name is Maurie. I'm here with my husband Jim, and we are going to talk a little bit about artificial intelligence. So, the first thing that we want to do this evening is we want to talk about the lady on the train.
Well, first thing we got to note is we're late again. Um, we actually did a podcast last night, but we just didn't like it. It just
Yeah,
wasn't our thing. And so we decided we were going to redo it. And because both last night and tonight, it's the lady on the train.
correct.
And that story, I get to tell it because I'm the one that still thinks you pay the lady, but it was a story about me telling you we no longer need to do the basics and us being on a train and a lady sitting next to me complaining because at the conference we'd just spoken at, nobody covered the basics right after I had told you that we don't need to cover the basics and that,
She literally was like, no one told me what AI was. I mean, she
yeah,
said,
no
I
one told me
walked
what it
into all these
was or how to
things.
use it or nothing.
Everyone just assumed I knew. Yeah.
So anyway, I accused you of paying her off and we moved on and we put all the basics back in. And then a couple of conferences later, like a year later, same conference, and we told the same story. And this time the lady was there. Actually, it was a different conference whenever she came up to us. But anyway, she said, I'm the lady on the train, which she was, and you took a picture with her and everything. The moral of this story is the basics. I took the basics out, and now we had a conversation with, or we got a request from a user recently and said, hey, I've been listening to you guys for a long time and I like what
Yes.
you talk about, but I still would like to hear something about the basics. It wasn't just the what is AI basics. He was like, I don't know how to use this stuff. There's
Correct. He was
so much
asking
out
like
there.
tools.
What tools and which AI do I use and how do I use it? How do I get started? So his was not a history of AI kind of thing or where it came from. It was how do I use this thing? How the heck
Correct.
do I use AI today? That's an exact quote of what he said.
Correct.
So I'm going to
We,
start with Mari's first rule.
okay.
What's Mari's first rule? When you tell
do
people,
something do something personal. Don't start thinking, okay, how's this going to help me at my office? How's it going to help me,
how's it going to make me more
at
efficient? How
right.
don't think
don't
about that.
don't think about that. Think about something that is personal, something like I've used it to and a lot of people actually do use AI for things they don't realize that it is AI that's helping them. But like, hey, what haircut do you think I should get? Or what shape should my glasses be? Or the NutriCoach or menu planning. I mean, something that's personal is where you should start.
Even simple personal. By the way, Sadie's harassing poor Maggie behind you.
Yeah, I see her
Um,
back there.
Anyway, it can be simple personal too. I mean, when I created the NutriCoach and stuff like that, that's a little more complex. It can be just something simple like, remember a year, 3 years ago, and the kid was at our house,
Yeah.
and I took a picture of a leaf that had a little thing on it that was obviously left there by a bug.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked at the time, it was Gemini was the only one that could do anything with images and it wasn't even called Gemini then, it was called Bard. But anyway, I uploaded it, asked it what it was, and it gave me a description of what that was on the leaf. And the little boy, which was like 8 years old, thought that was just the coolest thing ever. So, and that was just simple and personal. It can be that simple. Take a picture of your dinner plate and ask it how the calories look.
That's very much so something you can do. I saw a person on LinkedIn today that he had actually taken a Post-it note that his elderly father had written on a Post-it note, and he was like, I don't want to just take a Post-it note to the grocery store. I really need, it was his grocery list. So
Yeah.
he took a picture of the Post-it note and had it give it to him in a list format and printed it out and handed it to his elderly father so he could have a bigger piece of paper to take with him to the grocery store. So all those personal things, that's where you need to
So,
start. Things that make a difference that way.
the first lesson out of what we just said, when you start talking about using AI, is we specifically chose multiple examples that were called multimodal AI, meaning
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that it can recognize things from an image. Why does that matter? Because if you're using ChatGPT and depending on the model you select, some of the models are not multimodal. Most
Correct.
of them are now, but they have mini and nano models, which as far as I know, I haven't tried it, but I don't think the nano model will let you upload an image. So you may find that when you go to select something, there won't be a plus sign down there, or that tool like upload an image or something won't be there. Like we'll talk about Notebook LM in a minute, but Notebook LM will not let you upload an image. You can do lots
Okay.
of stuff, but it doesn't let you do that. So that term multimodal AI is relevant to the different tools. So what did we do to start this off? What did we do?
Okay, so I was listening to a podcast that you had recommended to me, and one of the
Mm-hmm.
things that he said that he did is he had actually asked his chat GPT, hey, based on what you know about me, how do you think I utilize artificial intelligence? Give me the top 10 ways that you think I utilize artificial intelligence. So I was like, that's a really good place to start. So I did that into my personal chat GPT, and then you did it into your personal chat GPT, and we did discover something by doing that. What did we
We are
discover, Jim?
we are very different in what we use it
We
for.
we are very different,
We
and we say it all the time. I'm the educator, you're the engineer. So
you
the
can
things that
tell.
it basically it told me, it says, hey, you use it for you know brainstorming and helping teachers do their job and helping come up with things to teach teachers and helping
Okay, you're going too
simulate
fast.
classrooms,
You're going
right?
too
But
fast.
those are
Let's
the
go to
things it
number one.
said. Well, hang on. Those are the things that it said. But then when you and I both stepped back and we were like, hang on, um, that might be the ways that I'm using it, but those aren't really the tools that I'm using. So then we
Well,
had to go and we had to adjust the prompt just a little bit to where the things kind of matched a little better.
I think it's interesting too because I think it's worth talking about for a second or two. I think it's interesting because the way it answered you and the way it answered me, because we were using the same model, it
Hmm.
has to do with we are so different. The way it broke mine down into mine were easily broken down into categories as to how I use it because I have very distinctive categories. Yours has a lot more to do with brainstorming and idea generation and stuff like that, where like my number one, research. I do research all the time. I had for a while there, well, until my accountant cut me off, I had access to the the deep research for which I still have access to, but I could do like hundreds of them a month. And deep research it's a fantastic tool. It's built into actually all pretty much all of them now. Well, Claude doesn't have it. ChatGPT has it. Gemini has it. Perplexity has it. These are all different tools. And
Hmm.
what it allows you to do is ask a question and then it generates a PhD level paper. So I do a lot of research and I use the AI, regular AI, and I tell it search the web, stuff like that. That was my first one. AI is a trusted research assistant. What was your first?
A time saver for real people.
That actually makes
That
no sense to me at all.
it says I use it for a lot of summaries. I use it for a
That
lot of
makes sense.
yeah. So to save time before administrative manuals, policy manuals.
It sounds
Hey,
like
here's
efficiency AI.
a really it is that it says that's the number one way that I use it is I use it to say like explain what this person is trying to say, explain what this explain what this email means, explain what this note means, explain. So I use it a lot for that. It also said that I also use it a lot for searches. Like
Is that
I'm
are we still on
constantly.
your number one?
Yeah, that's still my number one. It's saying that I use ChatGPT and Claude for summarizing long policy documents and things like
Right.
that. And then I use Gemini or Perplexity a lot of times for like quick searches. Now, at first I was like, I don't use Gemini, but I do. I use Google all the time.
But
And
Gemini is built into the search part
and
of Google.
and
Yeah.
Gemini is Google. And so
Well,
and I'm
I,
constantly like searching things.
I think it's interesting because if you're writing a list, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and Gemini are lists we
Those are the
share. Those are the ones
those are
we
the big four.
share. And then,
Hmm.
of course, I use Notebook LM a whole lot more than you do. But to what you were talking about earlier, I use ChatGPT even as a when you talk about it as a trusted AI assistant. There's a lot of it even says you use it a lot to clarify, compare, test knowledge, which is similar to what you do.
Hmm.
Claude, I do use Claude a lot for cross checks, though. I think I upset ChatGPT by telling it I use other AIs. because it always made Claude number 2. Yeah, you use that Claude thing for cross-checking the real AI, which is me. That's kind of its attitude.
Right. Yeah.
But I use Gemini's an interesting one. I use Gemini probably more than you do. If you count the search part of it, you do use it a lot. But I use it because it's built into Workspace, which is what Google wants to
Right.
hear.
Right.
And so a lot of times I dump like audio transcripts into it because I store them in my Google Workspace. And I do
Mhm.
this for work and for home. So depending on which one I'm doing, I have a folder literally called knowledge base. I dump them in there, and then I let Gemini do the first pass summary of whatever it is or ask questions about it unless I need something more. And I may then pull it out and use it in ChatGPT. So
Right.
the fact that it's integrated into Workspace is useful to me, which means in our job, we're going to see the teachers finding it useful as well because it's built in and Google's making it available. So, all right,
That is correct. So
what's your number 2?
my number 2 was planning and prepping for professional development. I use it to outline sessions. I use it to like help me with my intros. I'm constantly saying, I need to make this fun. I need to make this engaging. Help me, reach kindergarten through 5th grade teachers. Help me reach 6th through 8th grade, 9th through 12th. So I'm constantly using it for that. And then just to throw that tool out there, I'm always using Canva. So Canva has an AI that I use it for all of my presentations. And a lot of the times I'll use the AI section to like, okay, here's an image, take that AI and expand that image to take up the whole slide, that kind of thing. So I
Well,
use a lot of the image stuff
I
in
think
Canva.
I think that in a way, what I do for number 2 is similar in a sense. You use yours a lot for planning and for stuff like that. I have prototyping and system architecture, which basically, if you're an IT or a coder, it means you're running some quick Basically, it's like a planning thing for me. It helps me think through my design choices. Why do I do it? And I use ChatGPT a lot for that. But when you start moving into this area, for me, I start using Claude a lot more. I know
Hmm.
ChatGPT doesn't want to hear that because it doesn't like the thing. I've started using Gemini a lot more for that as well because Gemini with a million token um, context windows can do a lot more. I even wrote an article about it getting senile if you give it too much, but
Right.
it's kind of moving up for me. But I use Claude a lot more. And that guy that I sent you the podcast link for, I think
Hmm.
you even mentioned that Claude is getting better at writing than it
Yeah.
used to be. So
Yeah, he did.
maybe you mentioned it for yourself as well, though. I think too, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. I use Claude whenever I do like all the board meeting minutes for the Austin
You do
AI
use that for
Alliance.
a lot.
And I use Claude for those meeting minutes because to me, honestly, it depends upon the type of writing that you like to do. Claude tends to be a little better at the writing when it comes to like, okay, here you go, here it is, 1, 2, 3, 4, done. Versus ChatGPT tends to do a little more of the let's feel good about this, let's make it.
Yeah, I
And maybe
noticed
that's
that.
because I've been using
No.
ChatGPT to to help me with outlines and stuff for a long time. So maybe it just knows my personality because sometimes I'll come back and I'll say, here's what I wrote. I do voice typing a lot. I go into Google Docs and I do the voice typing and I just like say what I want to say. I tell my story, whatever, and then I take that transcription and I put it into ChatGPT and I say, okay, here are all my thoughts. Help me get these together. Um, and then I'm
Okay.
like, wait a second, I don't want to use that word. But
Since you mentioned
what's the third
typing,
way?
hold on. Since you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned typing, I was going to throw in one more thing. I have my own local AI running that I use on a server that I use for transcription because I like the privacy part. Not
Mm-hmm.
everybody can do that, but I do. But you can put a recording, like I record on my phone.
Oh.
I upload it to my Google Drive because it's convenient, and then I
Mm-hmm.
bring it into Notebook LM, and I can use it as a source in Notebook LM, and it will transcribe the audio automatically into text and then use it
Yeah.
as context. So that's an
Yeah.
organizational thing. Just as a summary, right quick, Notebook LM is all about organization. All of these tools have
Yes.
some kind of organizational structure built in. They have projects in Claude now. They have projects in ChatGPT. They have projects probably in Gemini. I've never used it, but Notebook LM is an organizational tool for me. So number 3 for me, K-12 tool design and deployment. So apparently I'm doing as we all know, I spend way too much time working at home on school stuff.
Right.
And I'm
I
developing
mean, you use it
tools
for
and stuff.
scripting, you use it for
I do.
Agnes, you use it for all
And
of that
that's,
stuff.
I do a lot more with Claude on that. I hate to tell
Okay.
ChatGPT this, but I do a lot more with
So
Claude.
my number 3 was running a business while still working in a district.
So you and I both do too much stuff with, we can't separate our work private life very well. Is that what it's telling us?
No, that's what it's telling us. So it's saying, I use AI for organizing projects. I use it for conference material,
Yeah.
emails, sounding board strategists, all those things about running AI education professionals.
Well, and mine is about design and deployment for the tools, like the AI toolbox that we built. So, all
Yeah.
right, number 4 for me is very similar to, so I'm just going to go and list it. It's similar to 3. Workflow automation and scripting. That is also work related. I use Claude a lot more. Those two are basically the same thing. What's your number 4?
Prototyping what schools actually need.
See, prototyping school stuff. You and I both got a theme going on here. We need to take a
Yeah.
vacation. We need a vacation. I
Yeah.
think that's what the problem is.
All right.
Well, we
Your number
work on our
5.
vacations. Transcription and accessibility tools. I just mentioned the transcription thing. I mean, ChatGPT thinks it does a lot of transcriptions for me. In reality, it doesn't. 99% of
Mm-hmm.
my transcriptions are my own local because I
Mm-hmm.
like doing the local. Though Notebook LM has definitely taken up some of that for me, I still do it. And just to be clear for anybody who is listening about tools, when you start talking about transcriptions, do not use the transcriptions that work on your iPhone. They're terrible.
Oh, okay.
They're awful. I don't know why that makes so many mistakes. The transcription tool I have running locally on a GPU, which is just a free language model for transcriptions called Whisper, it is 10 times better. I don't know why Apple can't fix that, but I
Hmm.
never use the one that Apple does.
Okay.
So anyway, what's your number 5 again? I forgot.
My number 5 is visuals that speak to teachers, not just technical people.
Oh, that's my number
So
6.
yeah, mine's visuals,
That's
and
my number
like
6 is visuals.
I use Dolly, I use Midjourney.
Me
As I said, I
too.
use Canva AI. And Canva AI, I never have Canva generate the image for me. I download or upload the image, download it from ChatGPT or Dolly, download it from Midjourney, whatever, upload it into Canva, and then I have Canva take it and like extend it or whatever. But basically, it's like I'm constantly asking for like cartoon style graphics or classroom sketches, or I've even had a teacher use it to help her with her anchor charts. Like have it give you a visual of what it thinks the anchor chart needs to look like and then put it on the poster paper,
Okay,
to
I got
kind of
one
like
for
get her
you.
going.
I
Okay.
got one for you. I do visuals, but they're rarely school related. Now I've done visuals to try to figure, when I used to help more with the presentations, I used to generate some of the visuals there. But I use it a lot for personal because just I'm curious what things look like. I just had it
Hmm.
generate a steampunk enclosure for an external security camera because I'm
Oh,
one
that's
of.
cool.
It is actually very cool. I wonder if I don't think I'm talented enough to build the one it generated, but it was cool. All
That is
right.
cool.
So what is
Number
your
6.
my 6 is visuals. So we've already talked about mine. What's yours?
My 6 was actually transcripts, but it's not transcripts
Oh,
like what you're
really? That's
talking
my
about.
5.
But it's not what you're talking about. My
Oh,
transcripts is from Riverside.
well, it's
So
similar problem though.
we're sitting here doing my podcast. We're using a
Yeah.
product called Riverside, and it's going to take and it's going to, when we're all done, the AI that's built into Riverside is going to give me my show notes. It's going to give me the title of the podcast suggestions, which I agree with the guy that I listened to today. The titles typically are not good, so I'm always like, nope, nope, nope. Come up with a better title. But it also
What is one of the biggest problems with the titles? It
it
does it
puts
on
the
every
colon in the
single one.
middle.
What is with that?
Yeah.
It does a description, colon, more description. Why does it
Okay,
have to have a
so
colon?
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why it did this or why it does this. In my opinion,
Okay.
large language models have been trained by looking at other people's like
Lots and lots of
sessions and
text. Yes.
lots of text and lots of like headings and stuff.
Yep.
And anytime you're doing like a white paper or anytime you're doing a show or something like that, you
Hmm.
have the title, but then you also have what they call a tagline.
You think that's what the
Something that
That's what it's
And I think
generating.
that's what the LLM is like, oh, well, it has to have like the title, but then I have to also give you like something that's going to hook you. And
So
I think that it's thinking that it's giving you the title when it's really giving you the title and the tagline all in
so
one thing.
so I've
My
seen you do
opinion.
I've seen you do this. So this is the hint we're going to give people about it. If you're using
Mhm.
ChatGPT, have it
Mhm.
generate 5 titles that you
Mhm.
want of whatever you want, and then plan on taking and combining at least one or two of them into the
Right.
actual title, or at least use it as a way of kind of getting the juices flowing as to how you might.
Mhm.
Sometimes it's like my old mentor used to say, you got to give them something to throw darts at because
Yeah.
everybody knows what they hate, but nobody knows what they like. So if it generates
Right.
five options for you and you hate all of them, at least it gets the juices flowing. All right. So what's your
Right.
number 7? Mine is weird.
Um, it's really talking about how I'm using it for AI training for teachers, but not just presentations. I'm also using it to help me do things like the activities that I'm currently working on.
Mm-hmm.
We're building all of these unplugged activities,
Mm-hmm.
and we're using artificial intelligence. You gave it the knowledge base of the Texas Teaks,
Yep.
and now you're using it to cross check and make sure that the activities that I'm working on actually pull in Texas Teaks and align. So
Yeah.
I'm using it for that.
Actually, if that was an interesting one because data ingestion is a big thing, and I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to get data in correctly. And you and I did this 3 years ago on the first version of Agnes. What I did was when you asked me about doing that stuff because you wanted me to make sure it wasn't hallucinating. So I took the knowledge base, I had it generate, I gave it some information and said, which teaks do you think apply to this? And I took what it said, cross-checked it against with Claude, and then not only that, but I also then took the keywords that it thought were relevant, and I
Hmm.
literally did a search inside the actual teaks using just a PDF search tool, and found it. And that told me, okay, it's pretty good, and it did a really good job. It only had maybe two out of a massive list of teaks that we went through that it just got off the reservation on.
Right.
But
Right.
most of the time, it
But
did pretty good.
that's easy to
So
correct, though.
that was easy to correct. So you're telling me your number 7 is training, because see, my number 8 is training. My number 7 is semantic search and RAG interface. I don't have any idea where that comes from. We're going to ignore my number 7. Number 8, my number 8, it said AI literacy and training. And that has a lot to do with helping you with, like we
Right.
were just talking about. I
Ideas
do,
and
I
stuff.
do a lot of,
Yeah.
well, ideas. Plus I sometimes in the one that I use tools like Perplexity for search a lot, and
Right.
Perplexity's gotten very limited. They're getting more limiting on what they'll let you do on the free version because I don't pay for it. But a
Hmm.
lot of the YouTube people that I listen to that do AI stuff, they like Perplexity for search. I
Yeah.
like it quite a bit. It was the first one that really gave you sources really well. They're kind of
Hmm.
all given sources now.
They are.
And
They are.
so I still use Perplexity a lot for search. But when you ask me to cross check data and stuff, I use a lot of that. So what's your number 9? Because we're going to run out of time. What's your
We
number
haven't
9?
done 8. My number
Oh,
8.
8 for you.
You skipped yours. On the go, get it done content creation. So
Hmm.
it talks about MailChimp. I use MailChimp, and we have over 5,000 people who have signed up, emails that we
Yeah.
send out emails occasionally. And so I use MailChimp, and it's like, it helps me with the content and stuff. So, I mean, another thing I've used AI for when it comes to that get it done content creation, I'm doing a keynote speech about a hour-long keynote
Yeah.
about my book, teachers have bigger fish to fry and the reality of being in the classroom. And it's a really like it's a funny hour-long for teachers.
Yeah.
And I was trying to come up with a one-page flyer. And so, oh my goodness, I mean, it was amazing whenever I said, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want to do, this is the content, I need to do a flyer. Everything from giving me the actual, number sign FFFFFF for the type of white that I needed to have for the background. It
Wow,
was
that's
that
helpful.
detailed. It was that detailed. The
Well, I
types of
mean,
fonts I should use, so definitely I'm using a lot for that creation of that stuff. All right,
okay.
next.
Number 9, mine is documentation and memory. I do actually, I, this is kind of a recent thing for me. But I'm trying to build a knowledge base at work because I'd like to retire at some point and I don't want to just dump everything off on it. And I've been trying for years to figure out the way to document stuff. It's not just an organizational problem, because the problem is most documentation is in the format to be human readable.
It's
And
also
it
obsolete within
and that's the
what?
second problem. It's supposed to be
Uh-huh.
human readable, and then it becomes obsolete very fast.
Mhm.
And when we go to use it, because we have so much documentation that we put into Google Drives, we've tried using OneNote, we've tried all these, and I share all this stuff with people. I've been doing it for 20 years. I was doing it long before I worked at the school, and now I've noticed one particular product, open source project I've been playing with. They did what I think everybody's going to be doing, which is they're taking their documentation and they're making it AI friendly, meaning that even if they don't provide you an AI, they still provide you the documentation in a format that you can ingest it into your own. And I'm
Mhm.
starting to do it with, because I just did my YouTube channel, even though I've only posted one video, but I have a GitHub account, which most of the stuff on it's private, but on my GitHub account, I just recently posted all this documentation I'd gotten on these video cameras that these old video cameras are getting rid of. And I posted all this documentation because the camera is obsolete, which means it's going to get harder to find it. And I want to use it for projects. So my point is that ingesting documentation and making it large language model friendly has become an obsession of mine.
Well,
What's your number
it's been
9?
an obsession. My number 9 is protecting teachers from getting left behind. So it basically
That's a
brought
little
up
odd.
how, well, it basically brought up how I am using it to help with like policies, ethical use guidelines, um, looking for articles and doing research on what are they doing in this country, what are they doing in that country, what are
Right.
all the states that have guidelines, and that ties a lot back to what I post on LinkedIn. I use AI to help me do that research
One of
before I
mine was
do a
research.
post.
One of mine was
Yeah,
research. I do a
but
lot of
you're
research.
I think yours is a different kind of research, right? I mean, you do a
Of
little
course
more
it is.
in-depth research. I do
Engineer,
more,
educator.
yeah. So, what's your number 10?
Um, if we do it quick enough, I got some bonus ones too.
We're fine.
Strategic planning and forecasting. Um, ChatGPT goes, I'm your default strategy partner. I'm not sure I would know that, considering it doesn't know what I do with Claude and all the others, but that
Hmm.
jealousy thing, poking
Maybe it's
holes,
watching.
simulating reactions. So I do a lot of, I don't know about forecasting, but I do a lot of strategic planning stuff with it,
Hmm.
where I need a brainstorm. I got to have something I can just kind of dump ideas on, partly because I need to get them out of my head, so I'll stop obsessing over them. So anyway, um, white
My number
papers,
10,
things like that. What was your 10?
reminding the world that teaching is still human work. And it brought in the examples about how I wrote my book. And it was like, okay, I wrote the book. I took all the stories that I had written, I put it into an AI, and I said, how could AI have helped here? And then if it gave me a bunch of bullshit, I was like, no, no, you're making this up. Here's the prompt. Give me the answer. So I created a prompt as to how I thought the AI could help. And then it literally, then I took and copy and pasted what it said in the book. So it it's me being able to continue just to say, hey, teachers do real work and they're human and we have to keep a human in the loop. And so
That's I mean, you're using it for, again, sort of a brainstorming kind of tool, which is what it's saying that I'm doing as well. I mean, it's funny because the way it answered you had more to do with kind of an overview of some of the use cases, and mine broke it more down into categories. But
well,
I
that's
wanted to
because we're
mention,
different people.
well, educator, engineer,
Hmm.
the way we think is much different. But anyway, I mean, I think that it doesn't really matter how you use the tool or which tools you use. But if you're going to look at the tools, since we're on number 10, the tools that we both use quite a bit. So I'm going to list the
Hmm.
ones that I have, and then you can throw in the ones that you mentioned a second ago.
Hmm.
ChatGPT,
Hmm.
Claude,
Hmm.
Notebook LM for organization. That's a new one for me, and I love it. Perplexity, a lot of search, good sources. Gemini, it's built into Workspace, and it's getting better. Those are the main tools I use. What about you? What did I
Okay.
leave out? Because you use those
Canva.
too. Canva is
Canva.
very popular with with people that do content creation too.
Very popular. Dolly,
Dolly's built into
Midjourney,
ChatGPT. Midjourney is a separate tool.
Otter AI, or Super Normal AI
I
are
see
two
those
of
a
the ones
lot.
that I use. I use those as note takers when I'm on meetings. I'm constantly doing like 30-minute get to know you kind of stuff, and I'm always on there. And then Riverside, and then MailChimp.
I can tell you, based on you mentioned the recording the meetings. If you get nothing else, if you try no other tool,
It's
if you're on a lot of
amazing.
meetings, use Supernormal or Otter. But if you're having a conversation, obviously tell the person. I did this the other day though. I recorded a conversation. This was a technical one with someone.
Right.
You will be amazed at how good AI is, because then I transcribe it into text. I dump it into a Google Doc and I use Gemini or whatever AI I want to, because I might download it and put it in ChatGPT. But either way, I start asking questions about the conversation, like give me a summary of it. What are the high points? How do you do this? It is amazingly good at helping you keep your thoughts. Maybe it's my age, but I forget it. I think I remember all this conversation. And then when I start looking at an AI, I'm like, holy crap, I forgot a lot of stuff. Anyway, I wanted to go ahead.
Real quick, one of the things is that what you had recorded, you told the guy you were going to do it. You used a voice memo on your phone, right? And you recorded a phone conversation.
That's correct.
If you will notice, a lot of people don't want to have phone conversations anymore. They want to have those Teams or the Google Meets or whatever, because they want their note taker to be on that call. Because then it literally will give you, here's your list of 5 things you need to do after you get off this meeting. Here's your follow-up task. Here, it's awesome. So I see now why more and more people are doing those video calls, because that way they can have that note taker on there.
So the last thing I asked it,
mm-hmm.
I said ways, because you mentioned something about this, ways I should be using ChatGPT, and it gave me 2. Cross-tool workflow designer. Basically, it's saying you're doing way too much stuff. You need to start building workflows that will allow you to take stuff from one tool to the next. And I use a tool called N8N, which is a no-code tool, and another one called Flowwise. It's saying you need to start using those more. AI-enhanced testing and simulation. Because remember, I did some simulation early on. Basically, it's telling me you're not doing this enough. You need to simulate human interaction, like what ifs and all that stuff. I hadn't thought about that, but I could actually be doing that for some of this knowledge base I'm building at work.
Well, you used it for the classroom. You did a really great
I still have that simulation. It was good.
Yeah.
It was good.
Yeah, it was really good.
A day in the life
You tend to forget. Yeah, you tend to forget. Okay, so those are the tools that we would use. If anyone out there is listening, get a free account. That's the first step. Also, the very first step is to realize that you don't have to do anything but have a conversation.
Start
to me,
something
that is
simple.
Take
a picture of your dinner plate.
Easy.
Take a picture of your dinner
plate. What am I eating? Yeah, have fun with it.
Yes.
Have some fun with it. Okay, so
we're done.
Our daughter is, let's talk personal real quick. Our daughter is right at about 39 weeks in her pregnancy with our first grandchild. So if there's some reason that you don't hear from us over the next week or so, it might be because we have a new grandbaby. That, or maybe it's going to be me in one place and you in the other place, because I'm going to go down.
I'm dog sitting. Yeah, I'm dog sitting.
Yeah, exactly. That's your job. Grandpa gets to dog sit.
I know.
The other thing is, I have almost 4,100 LinkedIn followers now.
Yep. And your book's selling and it's picking up. You're starting to sell some books.
My book is selling.
Starting to pick up.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. So I did a post on LinkedIn about reading. It was an article about how college students don't like to read. And I'm like, duh, whenever reading became a compliance and not something you did for a curiosity, that's when it kind of,
we can do a whole podcast just on that, but we're out of time.
Absolutely. But I'm excited about that, and we hope that you guys have a marvelous rest of the week.